सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्. Om.
Yes, I said that whoever speaks about Brahman is offering this teaching.
Yeah.
He abides as Brahman and he remains as Brahman himself. And it is the highest teaching and the most profound that you can share. Actually, this is the real guru. The real guru is the one who says that there is only that, you are that. All the rest are only just simple teachers of some kind of spirituality.
Mm-hmm.
And there is no anything to say other than that in reality. All the rest are secondary teachings or details. To recognize and to be permanently convinced that there is only that and I am that is the only prerequisite for moksha, for self-realization. All the rest are just helpful tools.
Yeah.
Or all the rest of the scriptures and all the rest of the sadhanas, all the rest of the practices, all the rest of the teachings. They were meant only for preparation and for chitta shuddhi, purification of the mind, in order of the mind to be in a conducive state.
Yeah. Yeah, I listened to a couple of the talks you sent, the first two on the, what do you call it, Pat?
Panchadasi.
That, yeah.
From Swami Vidyaranya.
So Swamiji, one of the things Swamiji says is that Brahman is ever experienced.
Exactly. There is no extra experience required.
Yeah. It's not a separate experience because you are the subjective Brahman. It's not an experience, it's ever experienced.
Exactly. So no future event of a newly experience, a new experience Brahman is required, or any mystical or exotic phenomenon to appear in the future. It is just this recognition that I exist and I am aware of whatever I am aware of. In order to say that I'm aware of that I'm hungry, awareness is a prerequisite, correct?
Yeah.
And this is true for every of your worldly experiences. It is a prerequisite, presence, awareness, consciousness.
Yeah.
Now, if you were to try to see where awareness can be located, you will discover that it cannot be located and that it is beyond any space and time dimensions or any kind of dimensions.
Yeah.
So whatever appears and disappears, it appears and disappears in it. And it is made of awareness. The stuff that everything appears and disappears is just awareness. Only Brahman. With, of course, the superimpositions of names and forms, nama rupa, or concepts or labeling of any kind. The same with the ocean and the waves. The waves do not exist. Only the water of the ocean is existing. But to say about the waves is only a label. The same with whatever appears and disappears is only a label, only a concept, a thought form, a superimposition. And what is the cause of this superimposition is Maya. The inherent power in Brahman, which is Anandi, beginningless, is the cause of everything that appears and disappears. But we speak only for appearances. There is only Brahman and nothing else ever existed. All the rest are only appearances.
The appearances are also awareness, the same stuff.
Is it possible to speak about something without awareness?
Of course not.
Yes. And when you speak about something and you, let's say, you describe it, you need awareness. And awareness is also inside this so-called object that you are describing. Why? Because awareness is not located somewhere. So somehow, in inverted commas, awareness is permeating everything that you speak of. Correct?
Okay.
Is it possible not to permeate everything? Since without awareness cannot even appear, you cannot even speak about anything at all.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So the stuff, in inverted commas, of everything is only awareness.
Whose awareness?
Awareness of awareness. There is no other awareness except awareness itself.
So there's one awareness.
So there is only one singular. One consciousness, one presence. Even if it seems that every human being have his or her own consciousness, awareness, or presence, it is only an illusion. First of all, awareness is not an object to locate it inside a human being or the other. It is beyond any location and beyond any objectification. It cannot be an object. That's why also it cannot be an experience. Because if you were to make it an experience, that means that you will make it as an object.
Mm-hmm.
And that is impossible.
Yeah, it's ever experienced, but not an experience.
Yes. And all experiences as such are in the level of the mind. The mind also do not exist, but we call mind all the thought forms, all the appearances. And to become aware of every thought, awareness is always there.
Mm-hmm.
So somehow awareness is borrowing its existence into this reflected fine medium that we call mind. And it acts like a mirroring, like a mirror. The same as the face or the eyes cannot see themselves, the original face or the original eyes. You may see reflection in the mirror, but that doesn't mean that the face or the eyes are looking really the original face or eyes.
Mm-hmm.
There is only the reflection there. So the same with Chitabhasa, what we call Chidabhasa in Advaita Vedanta, reflected consciousness. So there is an appearance in Brahman, and then this appearance acts when there is a fine medium of, let's say, human mind, it acts like a fine medium of reflection of consciousness, like a mirror. And the same, not all appearances can be a fine medium of reflection. A stone cannot be used as a reflected medium. Only a human mind can do so. It is a fine medium.
So Chittavasa refers to reflected consciousness, which we call mind.
The mind is the reflecting medium, which then, from another standpoint, becomes Chittavasa, reflected consciousness. But actually, everything is just consciousness. And from the standpoint of a human being, we say that consciousness is reflected through this human being, through this Buddhi, the mind of this human being. But it is only from this standpoint of the human being. From the standpoint of consciousness, there is no anybody, any reflected consciousness. If we could imagine that there is only that never appeared anything and there is only consciousness, then consciousness couldn't be able to say I'm consciousness.
Yes.
That's why it's nice. It is the glorification of consciousness or Brahman or awareness to have these appearances and this fine medium of a human mind that can act as a declaration, I'm Brahman. Brahman cannot say I'm Brahman. No lips, no nervous system, no brain, no any ability to declare this, I'm Brahman. And the same with what we call self-realization or moksha, or liberation or enlightenment. Okay, in Advaita Vedanta, we don't use the term enlightenment. We use the term moksha or self-realization or liberation as a nitya mukta, eternally liberated. And it means actually that you recognize it. You have the permanent conviction that I am that and there is only that. There is no creation of something anew.
Yeah.
No phenomena, no cultivation, no something that appears in a future event as an enlightenment, as it is presented in other paths or even Buddhism.
Yeah.
No event is required. It is eternally there, nitya mukta. Eternally, the only self-realized one is Brahman, and you are that, and there is only that. But when somebody believes that he is an individual being distinct from other beings, then we have all this process of a path. In our case, the Advaita Vedanta path, the Upanishadic path, or Jnana Yoga. We have a guru, we have a guru parampara, Sravanam, Mananam, Nidi Dhyasanam, a Dharmic way of life. And all these are a prerequisite, of course. But all this process is part of the dream. Actually, never ever appeared somebody who is really existed, appeared, yes, but never ever existed somebody in the first place who was in bondage and then he became liberated as such or self-realized. It is part of the dream, all this process. When you have the recognition and a permanent conviction that I'm that and there is only that, then you have the recognition that all this path was also part of the dream.
Mm.
And the universe and the apparent beings and all the apparent samsaris who wish to become enlightened or self-realized, all this is part of the dream. So a jnani will never say, I was a samsari and now I am a jnani. A jnani will say that I was never existed as somebody in the first place. What to say for a samsari? But I was always that and there is only that. If somebody will say I'm a jnani, that means that he is not a jnani. Actually, it is only a concept. The concept of a samsari, another concept, who becomes another concept, a jnani. And all what we say are only concepts, only thought forms. Since there is only that, since there is only Brahman, and you are that, all the rest are only concepts, thought forms, labels, names and forms, superimpositions.
Everything's a superimposition.
Everything is mental. Everything is only a thought form, a concept.
So when you say the wave is a concept, and you say, but you know, it's only water, but water is also a concept.
Water is also a concept. The ocean is also a concept.
But the water itself, the wet object, is also a concept.
Yes. Everything is a concept. Everything is a superimposition in consciousness. So there is a screen in the cinema and you superimpose the movie. And everything is only a superimposition in the screen, on the screen, the cinema. So the screen of the cinema may act as an accommodator of all these appearances in the movie. The protagonists, the objects, the apparent places. But in reality, the screen of the cinema, does it have any touch, any relationship with the movie and the protagonists?
No.
No. If in the movie there is a lot of killing or a war and there is a lot of blood, will the screen become red from the blood?
It's unlikely.
Not at all. It will remain as it was before the movie. The same with you as consciousness. Whatever appears and disappears in front of you or in so-called inside you, because outside and inside are also concepts. But let's say in inverted commas, whatever appears in Subodhananda's external world and internal world is like a movie in your consciousness, which has nothing to do with you, the screen of consciousness. There is no any relationship. There is no any touch, any connection. If the pot or the jar will be broken, what happens with the clay? Does the clay have any problem?
No.
Not at all. Does the clay will say, oh, I'm now sad because I'm not anymore a pot? Not at all. The clay will remain clay. A golden ring becomes again gold. What happens in the gold? Nothing at all. It was just a superimposition, a name and form. The gold, we say now it is a ring, but the gold never became a ring. It will ever stay as gold. Forever. The same with whatever you see. Everything is only consciousness. Just superimpositions is whatever we say, whatever we declare as things or objects or beings. You project and you say, this is the sun. The sun will never say, I'm the sun. And you say, this is the sun, and the sun appears and disappears in your consciousness. The sun appears in you, you say, this is the sun, and if it disappears, you remain the same.
Mm-hmm.
In the dream, in the night, you see a lot of people in your dream, you interact with these people, you have experienceability, transactability, utility, which makes the dream to appear as very, very vivid and real. And then you stand up and you realize that nobody was there. No objects, universe, no people. Still, the experience was real.
Yeah.
Experienceability, utility, and transactability cannot be a proof for existence, for real existence, paramarthika existence, absolute existence, not empirical or low level of apparent reality. That's why in Advaita Vedanta we use the dream a lot. Whenever they say to us, but I experience the world, I experience the people, I experience my husband, my wife, my kids. And then you say, yes, you experience in the dream also things, you have utility and transactability in the dream. But does that prove the real existence of all whatever appeared in the dream?
No, it exists only as an appearance. It doesn't exist really.
Mm-hmm. The same with the big dream of life.
The big dream of life is projected by Ishvara.
Yes, Isvara is again you. There is no distinction between Isvara, Brahman, and you. No distinct things ever appeared. The same consciousness from one standpoint appears as Isvara, from another standpoint appears as Jivatma, a somebody, parent somebody. It is the way that you look at things, your angle, your view. You go to the top of the mountain, let's say, and you see a lake. Before you are in the top of the mountain, you cannot see the lake. You see only a forest. Somehow it is like that. When you have total spiritual maturity, and you can have the total and permanent recognition and conviction that there is only that and I'm that, then it seems very unbelievable that some apparent individuals, they cannot see that. It seems like madness. You cannot understand, you cannot grasp, you cannot swallow how everybody, every apparent, of course, everybody, every apparent individual cannot see that there is only one consciousness appearing different forms due to illusion, due to conditioning.
The last few days I've just touched on this idea. That's why I wrote you some questions. Like, is Ishvara projecting? Can't even speak half the time. Is Ishvara projecting Subodhananda? Am I part of Ishvara's projection rather than projecting my own world? And because the reason I asked that question is because I was starting to think the whole world is projected by Ishvara, and there's one projector. There's not multiple people projecting the world. There's just one projector, which is Ishvara. So it's like the next stage would be to think, I am Ishvara, or I am consciousness. But it's still, I found it helpful, like a stepping stone, to think this, especially when I'm just looking generally around myself, just looking, thinking this whole universe is just projected by, if you like, consciousness or Ishvara, the whole thing. And I'm part of that projection. I'm not some separate individual projecting my own world. There's just one consciousness and one projection. Like this, I found it like useful.
Yes, you can take it as a tool or as a helpful procedure. But we should remember that when there is somebody in the dream, the projection is from the jivatma, from the apparent individual soul. The apparent individual is projecting the personal dream in the night. But the entire world, apparent world, in the so-called waking state.
Yeah, I mean the waking state, yeah.
Yeah, this is, of course, a total projection from all the jivatmas together and Isvara. But Isvara is, again, a concept in Advaita Vedanta. And this concept is also mithya. It's impermanent. Isvara is not paramartic, absolute reality, absolute truth. But Isvara is projecting the world due to the needs of the jivatmas to exhaust their karma.
So
and the only way to exhaust the karmas, all these apparent individuals, is through pleasant experiences, to exhaust punyam, which means good karma, merits, and bad experiences, which is the papam, the bad karma. And so Isvara don't have the desire to project the apparent universe for his own sake, in inverted commas, but it is the result of the infinite desires and infinite karma of all the apparent jivatmas. And again, from the standpoint of Isvara, we can say that there are jivatmas. From the standpoint of jivatmas, we can say there is Isvara. But from the standpoint of Brahman, there is no Isvara and jivatmas. It is the way you look, the standpoint that you're standing and you want to see and you want to understand. If you look at the scheme of things as a jivatma, yes, you can speak like that. There is Isvara, there is Brahman, there is Maya. But in the end of the day, there is only one Brahman. And there is a kind of power inside Brahman that we call Maya. And that creates Isvara, which is Brahman plus Maya, creates Isvara. And through Isvara, we have these apparent universes and apparent beings and apparent objects. So the recipe to understand the teachings and the scriptures is to decide the standpoint that you look at. Either you look from Paramartika, absolute reality standpoint, or you look from Vyavaharika, the empirical, low-level, apparent reality. Both are useful.
Okay, so from the Vyavaharika point of view, you said this Ishvara is projecting the universe, but also the Jivatmas are projecting as well. I thought it was just one consciousness, one projection.
The projection for the world comes from Isvara, but it is due to the infinite desires and karmas that needs to be exhausted of infinite Jivatmas.
So there's one Ishvara is the projector of the universe, and in that universe that is projected are included the Jivatmas.
Yes, but all in the end is only one consciousness.
My point is, the point I'm trying to get at is that there's not multiple, like I'm not projecting this waking world.
No.
Ishvara is projecting it, including me.
Exactly.
So it's legitimate to think this universe is projected by one consciousness, of which I'm a part of that projection.
Yes, you
It's a
are
big-
part of the dream. It's
It's-
like you are a protagonist in the dream of Isvara, but again, from the standpoint of Jivatma. From the standpoint of infinite consciousness, singular consciousness, or from the standpoint of Brahman,
Mm.
this universe have never ever existed, have never ever have any sense. The one who speaks, let's take it from this angle. The one who speaks about Isvara can only be a Jivatma. Brahman cannot speak about Isvara or Maya or Jivatma. Who speaks about this? An apparent individual, an apparent Chidabhasa reflected consciousness. You believe that you are somebody, and then you try to understand what is happening, what is the scheme of things. But Brahman don't see any Jivatmas or any Isvara as such, or any universe. Brahman don't have any thinking process. Who has the thinking process? The apparent individual mind, Buddhi. And all the game, in inverted commas, is in the mind.
Mm.
That's why it's required only intellectual profound understanding. No exotic phenomena or mystical phenomena or any siddhis and occult powers are required, or any samadhi or nirvikalpaka samadhi or sarvikalpaka samadhi. The only thing that is required is to be a profound understanding in the mind, because there is the confusion. You look at the world and you believe that you are a tiny human being, a samsari, and you suffer. And then you want to search and to understand what is happening, what is the scheme of things. And then through the teachings, you end up that there is only one consciousness, and you have never ever existed as a distinct being.
Mm.
So the purpose is accomplished just with profound intellectual understanding. So moksha can appear only in the buddhi, only in the mind, with a profound intellectual understanding. No other understanding ever existed other than intellectual. And I come to this again and again because millions of people, they say, oh, I have only an intellectual understanding of the Mahavakyams or of the scriptures, and it is not enough. I need to go into Nirvikalpaka Samadhi. I need to become a zombie, not to have any thoughts, in order to have an experience of Brahman, of my true self. And this is, of course, ridiculous. Because you are always, ever experiencing Brahman as I am aware of, whatever you are aware of.
But on the other hand, it's true to say, I've only got an intellectual experience, meaning nothing's changed. Nothing's changed. I've read all these books. I've read all this. I understand things. I can understand the sentences. I understand the concepts, but not to the degree that there's been any significant change in the confusion in the mind. So it's like it's semantic difference. I can understand when somebody says, I've just got an intellectual understanding, because it means nothing's really changed.
But the understanding is not profound yet. You may have a superficial understanding. This is acceptable. But what is required is a profound understanding, is an internal grasping to the maximum, a real assimilation, a real deep in the heart of your heart, of deep, profound understanding.
Is that why?
Not to be an info that you have acquired, that you have been taken off from a book, just an information. Yes, in Advaita Vedanta, they believe that there is only Brahman. Okay, I understand. No, I don't speak about this kind of superficial understanding. But for the understanding to become profound and real understanding in the heart of your heart, it needs Nidi Dhyasanam,
Yeah.
the Vedantic meditation procedure.
Yeah.
So the subconscious mind, what we call, of course, subconscious mind, because there is no any distinction between subconscious and unconscious, and all this is just from psychology. But I mean that the truth from the teachings and especially the Mahavakyams, the great statements such as Aham Brahmasmi, there has to be not just an information that you have gathered from the scripture or from a guru. There has to be an internal profound assimilation. There is no any more doubt anymore, that there is total clarity. And then, yes, of course, this is what we mean moksha, self-realization. You don't believe anymore that you are a samsari.
You
You
know.
say, you know deep inside you, in the heart of your heart, with total and conviction to the maximum, without any doubt anymore. Note that next time that you have been fired from your job, you feel a samsari and you are in depression. And you forget that you are Brahman. Or another very extreme event appears in the body-mind complex life. And then you forget that you are Brahman. No matter what appears as a very awful event in your life, you know that you have nothing to do with this protagonist, with this body-mind complex, that previously you were identified yourself with it. Then, yes, we speak about the profound understanding, intellectual, profound understanding, unshaking anymore, when it is a permanent recognition and conviction. And the years are passing and there is no any change in this permanent recognition and conviction. Then, of course, you are, for the others, the apparent others, you are a jnani. For yourself, you are that, and you have the conviction, a permanent conviction and recognition that from the first place, eternally, there is only that, and I'm that. But this is a process in the mind. It is an intellectual, cognitive, and profound understanding with no other requirements needed. But nowadays, millions of people, due to the fake gurus, which are hundreds of thousands, there is this misconception, this false belief that I need to have an extremely exotic event that I call enlightenment event or self-realization event or moksha event in the future, where I will become Brahman or I will become an enlightened one. This is just a fake story. It's just a myth which provided, which is have been circulated in the social media and everywhere, in the internet and everywhere. Because of these sneaky people, these sneaky fake gurus, they want to attract followers and to be rich and to make money and to appear as so-called enlightened gurus. You know? So millions of people, they believe that it goes like this, that after a very exotic event in the future time, you can become an enlightened one. And there is a kind of transformation, and suddenly you have lights around your body or around your head, or you have supernatural powers, or you can walk in the air, or all kinds of see this and read this mystical powers. But there is no any requirements any requirement of all this. You can be a yogi, you can have all these supernatural powers and not be a jnani, a self-realized one. The opposite, you can be a jnani, of course, for as I mentioned, for the others.
Yeah.
You can be a jnani without any of spiritual powers. Just being a very simple person that even nobody can understand that you are a jnani. And you can just live in the nature alone. Nobody knows that you are a jnani. Or you are just a grihasta person who is taking care of his family and he's leading a moral life, being a good paradigm for the society, and not even teaching. Because to be a guru and to teach is also part of prarabdha karma. All jnanis would become gurus because they don't have all of them, due to prarabdha karma, all the required skills, such as, let's say, clarity or the ability to teach with clarity.
Yeah.
Or to transmit, to convey the teachings with clarity. And so on and so forth. So this has to be understood as much as possible with total clarity. Enlightenment or self-realization, better, or moksha, it is a cognitive process. It's a process that has to be done or taking place in the mind, in the apparent mind, the Buddhi, with total and profound understanding, with a permanent recognition and conviction that there is only that and I'm that. Has nothing to do with any nirvikalpaka samadhi or sarvikalpaka samadhi or a CDs or readis or any exotic phenomena. And all those fake teachers who are promoting this myth is only for the sake of becoming rich and to mislead people to attract their money. This is the purpose of all the Upanishads. To profoundly understand that there is only that and I'm that. Nothing else is required. But on the other hand, in order to have this permanent recognition and conviction, you need to follow the rest of the scriptures, of the Upanishads.
Yeah.
And the recipe is Sravanam, Mananam, Nidi Dhyasanam, and following a Dharmic lifestyle as per the Dharma Sastra. Why? Because the mind needs to be clear and purified and have clarity.
Yeah.
So in order to be able and have a conducive atmosphere in itself to have this permanent recognition and conviction, this permanent and profound understanding that there is only Brahman and I am Brahman.
Yeah.
It goes like this. This is the summary of all the scriptures, of all the real spiritual paths. To remove all the false notions, all the misbeliefs, all the confusion and darkness, that there are samsaris, that there are distinct beings, that there are distinct objects, there are distinct universes, and I'm just a small, tiny human being, and I need to suffer. The root cause of every suffering, because suffering really does not exist, and even happiness does not exist from the standpoint of Brahman, because they are just mind conditioning. Happiness or suffering is due to conditioning. The same with all apparent forms in the universe, all the names and forms, all namarupas, concepts, thought forms, is due to confusion, due to illusion, due to the veiling and not to be able to see the truth.
Hmm.
There is only one absolute reality, and I am that. It is about removing the veiling in the mind and to wake up from this dream of life, that you believe that you are part of this dream, you are a distinct being, you are a samsari, you need to be free. All these misconceptions. So Advaita Vedanta comes as part of this dream as well and offers the way out of this illusion. But again, you must do this procedure as is prescribed in the scriptures, especially the Upanishads. And the instructions have to be followed to the letter, with all the details. Sravanam, Mananam, Nidi Dhyasanam. To do this procedure with the guru should be member of this guru parampara. He was also a sisya. You need to lead a beautiful lifestyle as per the Dharma Sastram. If you will follow all these instructions, there is no doubt that one day you will end up to this conclusion. This permanent recognition and conviction that there is only that and I am that. It is a guarantee from the scriptures.
Yeah.
And it is mentioned in the Upanishads, the one who knows this don't need to know anything else. The one, and that it means that one who knows that there is only Brahman and I'm Brahman, there is no need of learning anything else. Just abide as Brahman, as always was Brahman. Don't become Brahman, because always there is only Brahman. There is only abiding as Brahman, not becoming Brahman, not merging in Brahman. Because sometimes we can see also poetic expressions like merging in Brahman, becoming Brahman. All these are just compromisation or poetic expression. We can find even the expression, the river is merging in the sea or in the ocean. In the Jivatma is merging in Brahman. But these are all just poetic expressions. There is no any merging, there is no any becoming. There is only a permanent recognition and conviction that I am that, and there is only that. That's all. Nothing anew, nothing to be constructed, nothing to be transformed, nothing to be acquired anew or attain. All these expressions are just poetic expressions.
And for somebody who's a jnani, so-called jnani, then as you said before, in Brahman, there's no experience of the world. Does that mean the world doesn't appear even as an appearance?
From the standpoint of infinite Jivatmas, who are always anandi, beginningless, there will always be an appearance. from the standpoint of Brahman, there are no appearances. To speak about appearances, there is the requirement of a mind, of an apparent reflected medium as such. In our case, the human mind. But Brahman don't have mind to, and also lips to say I'm Brahman, or I see the appearances in me. The only one who can say that is a human being, due to the reflection in the mind, the Chidabhasa, the reflected consciousness, because the human mind is a good medium for that.
And what happens when the human body of a jnani disappears? The body-mind complex disappears at the time of death.
What happens in the space, in the jar, or in the pot when the pot is broken?
Not a lot.
Nothing at all. So Brahman remains as Brahman. Nothing at all appears. Just the previous one who thought he was a somebody before he becomes a jnani, before he will have this permanent recognition and conviction that there is only that and I am that. Before that, there was the possibility of a new dream lifetime, a new Janma. Now there is no any reason for that. The so-called jnani, from the standpoint of the apparent others, don't have any desires or any attachments to appear again and to enjoy and to go for his desires and his attachments.
Yeah,
So
but
there is only abidance as Brahman. No new projection of a lifetime is required. Just like the rising of the wave in the ocean. There is a wave rising and subsides. What happens to the water of the ocean?
nothing.
Nothing at all. What happens in the sky when there is the flying of a bird? Does the space have any problem for that?
No.
The same for Brahman. Whatever appears and disappears does not have any effect in Brahman. The same, whatever appears and disappears in the screen of the cinema, the screen remains the same. There is an appearance of Subodhananda, and then there is a disappearance of Subodhananda. And this appearance was borrowing its apparent existence as a concept through consciousness. When Subodhananda disappears, consciousness remains as the same consciousness. No any change at all. What happens in the gold when the ring becomes gold, and then vice versa when the ring again becomes gold? You melt the ring, which was made from gold, you melting it, and what happened to the gold? Nothing. It remains gold. You take whatever you like, and you transform it into something. You take the clay and you make it a pot, and then you broke the pot and remains clay. And then again you can take the same clay and make a new pot. Does the clay has any problem?
No.
Not at all. You use the same screen in the cinema to project a drama and a comedy. what is the effect in the screen of the cinema?
Nothing.
Nothing. There is the audience, and they enjoy a comedy and they laugh non-stop. And then there is another movie, which is a thriller, the drama. And there is a lot of killing and blood. And the audience is crying. And then it stops the movie. What is the change in the screen of the cinema due to the difference of the two movies?
Nothing.
Nothing at all. Same in the real you. You see Subodhananda have some bad experiences and you become sad. Then you see Subodhananda have a very funny and nice experiences and you smile and you are happy. And then you are in the deep sleep without dreams. Then does it make sense? What all the conditions in the mind, all the differences and the mode in the mind. It doesn't make any difference in the end of the day. You go into the deep sleep and you are neutral.
Mm.
The same with everyday experiences. You become sad, after 2 hours you may become happy, then again sad, then fearful, then whatever. And you go into the deep sleep. Now, does it make any sense what was happening during the waking state?
No, it makes no difference at all.
Difference at all. Same with the real you. Doesn't make any difference what you are. What you really are is beyond anything that is modulating in the mind. Whatever you see, whatever you are experiencing, are just modulations in the mind. Just different dreams. One nightmare, then a happy dream, then a fearful dream, then sad dream, a drama dream, a comedy dream,
Mm.
and then you stand up and you realize it doesn't make any sense,
Any difference?
any difference. You are completely free, completely without any modifications of any kind as awareness. You can accommodate sad or happy events for Subodhananda. You can reveal, you can illumine happy moments for Subodhananda and sadful moments, moments for Subodhananda. But you, the illuminator, the accommodator, don't have any modifications. You are only revealing, you are only accommodating, just like the screen in the cinema. No problem for the screen. No matter if there is killing and blood and earthquakes and whatever, the screen will remain untouched, completely in peace. This is beautiful news. This is the message of Advaita Vedanta. You are complete, you are fulfilled, you are the whole, you are completely unaffected, birthless, deathless, nameless, spaceless, formless, and nothing can happen to you. It's a great message, isn't it?
Well, it's challenging as well.
For whom?
Exactly.
It is challenging for the mind. It is challenging for the apparent somebody, the ego. The ego don't want to be so vague, so vast, so without any labeling, it is very scary for the ego.
Yeah.
Have not to adjust any labels on itself. The ego feels wonderful when even when the ego says, I'm very awful, I feel sad, I'm full of anger, the ego feels beautiful. It is a way, a very sneaky way to exist, when in reality it does not exist as a distinct being. It feels nice. Me, the poor one, me, the angry one, me, the suffering one.
Yeah, at least on me.
Yes, but
50
let's
Shades
say that,
of me.
yes, let's say this me, this somebody, this ego, let's say that is facing cancer or AIDS or something very, very terrible sickness.
Yeah.
And the doctor said in 1 week you will die. No, we tried everything, but you are doomed to die.
Yeah.
And for every second there is suffering. Me, the poor one, I have this terrible disease, and I'm dying and suffering and from all this narrative. And then the same person, the same ego, goes to deep sleep in the night.
Yeah.
What happens in the deep sleep?
Well, none of that appears. None of the suffering appears.
Exactly. So suffering and happiness are just modes of the mind. Brahman is even beyond this terminology of suffering and happiness. What you are is beyond all this kind of duality and polarity. That's why when you are in the deep sleep, you don't even say I'm happy or I'm suffering or I have this problem in my waking state or I'm sad or I'm angry. The mind is in a dormant state. So there is no turbulence. Everybody is very happy to go into the deep sleep. It's a kind of a death, but still everybody wants to sleep. Everybody wants to go there in this deep sleep. It doesn't have any fear, because it is, there is no any problem there in the deep sleep.
But in the deep sleep, we're not aware. We're not aware at that time that we're in deep sleep, are we?
But still, there is the registration that I was having a deep sleep. I was slept as a log of good, no problem, and it was beautiful. So there is registering.
The point is, in Brahman, Brahman is, you must be aware of your experience. Like in deep sleep, you're not aware, but if you're in Brahman, I imagine you must be, not you, but there must be some registering or something. There can't be, otherwise it's like non-existence.
But the labels existence and non-existence can appear when we have mind, when we have an apparent individual speaking or thinking. Brahman cannot say I am aware that I am Brahman. Brahman is also a term which is from the root bru, which means something vast, something beyond any comprehension. But this doesn't mean that Brahman has the name Brahman. Brahman does what we call Brahman as the absolute reality or the absolute truth, or every concept that you want to use. All these are also concepts. To say that the absolute reality has the name Brahman is also a concept, is also labeling. And even to say the absolute truth is also labeling. all these things, where do they appear? All this labeling, all this terminology, does it appear in the deep sleep, for example?
I don't know.
No. It is only thinking process. It's only conceptualization. On the other hand, if I were to ask you, did you ever had an experience of not existing or not being aware? Did you ever had such an experience?
Well, I'm not aware in deep sleep.
But who is registering? And you say the next morning, it was beautiful. I slept like a log of wood.
Mm.
And it was,
But not at the time.
but there was awareness there. There was registering.
Well, why can't I? Why am I not aware of the awareness?
Who is aware now that it is existing? You say, I'm here and discussing with Sacchidananda Acharya. Who is aware of this dialogue, this apparent dialogue between two apparent individuals or apparent jivatmas?
Awareness.
Yeah, something in inverted commas is aware. And if I were to ask you, did you ever had an experience of not existing? Can you say that?
Not in
That
the waking world, no, but in deep sleep, I would say
you
I'm not aware of my. Only later, not at the time. I'm not aware.
Yes. Okay, I will ask you with another question. Were you aware in the deep sleep that you are not existing?
What?
Do you say to me that you were aware in the deep sleep that you do not exist?
I was aware neither of existence or non-existence. There was just nothing.
Yes, but in order to say that I cannot say that I was not aware in the deep sleep. I cannot say that. Does that mean that to say at any time that I had a break in awareness is wrong? To have a break of awareness requires to be aware of that break, isn't it?
Yeah, so there has to be awareness to be aware of the break.
So, does awareness then can have a beginning point? Is that possible? Can you say before 10 trillion years, I was aware that I was starting to exist as awareness? That would require that awareness was pre-existing.
Yeah.
To be aware of a new beginning, isn't it?
Yeah.
So ad infinitum, you cannot say. You cannot speak about any beginning. Awareness is beyond space and time. The same if I were to ask you, can you localize awareness? Is that possible?
No.
So, what can happen to awareness if it is beginningless, never had a beginning point ever, and if it cannot be localized? That means that it is permeating all appearances. So what can happen? What bad, in inverted commas, can happen to awareness?
Well, nothing. But my line of inquiry is more to do with the fact that the Brahman sounds like eternal deep sleep, and deep sleep, I can't even remember it. So it doesn't sound that appealing, this eternal deep sleep.
For whom? Be careful. For whom does not appear appealing?
For me.
For Subodhananda, for the apparent person, for the apparent ego,
Yeah.
is not appealing. Of course. Of course it's not appealing. And what? The point is not to be appealing for the ego. The point is to see that you are infinitely free. Infinitely, you are that, and there is only that. Only that can bring you eternal peace and happiness and bliss. Not something to be appealing in the ego. The ego, by definition, is full of problems.
Yeah, if it's eternal bliss, that sounds better.
Still, you cannot say I'm eternal bliss, because Brahman don't have a mouth to say that. But it doesn't matter.
I mean, Brahmins, I'm just talking because I don't feel I'm qualified to talk about it, but we're having a conversation. So Brahman is Sacchidananda. Ananda's bliss, yes? So there is part of Brahman is one of these, it's one of the three components. It's bliss.
Yes, but Ananda cannot be experienced. Because if it would be experienced, it will be objectified, and it will be an appearance in future or in time-space continuum. And that would make it not internal, will make it just an object in mind, this experience.
Is ever experienced though, Brahman?
Yes, but you cannot say that I experience and I feel wonderful because of this Ananda. Whatever you are experiencing as a Chidabhasa, reflected consciousness, is only the reflected Ananda in the reflected consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
You can never ever have an experience of the original Ananda that you are. You can only have an experience of the Chidabhasa Ananda, Chidabhasa's Ananda. I know that for the ego is not appealing again.
Yeah, I'm going to keep going. Don't worry. So
the ego wants to appear as infinite, wants to feel that it exists, wants to have fun, wants to have ananda, wants to have everything. But that is not possible for a non-existent ghost, because it does not exist. And no matter if you try to discover it, you will remain always with labels, but you will never find this being, this so-called being called ego. It's just a bundle of labels and memories.
nevertheless, it has to be appealing to the ego at some point, or the ego will not get involved. The ego could accept some, okay, eventually I will disappear. But there has to be some kind of carrot. Otherwise, the ego won't even bother. That's just the way the ego works. There has to be something in it for it. Even if it knows somewhere it's going to eventually go out of existence, so to speak.
Yes, this is the purpose of suffering. The ability to remove suffering is very appealing for the ego. and the ability to have happiness moments and pleasures. This is very appealing. And this you can have with following a dharmic lifestyle. Because, for example, if you follow the Dharma Sastram and you don't, let's say, offer violence, and you live in ahimsa, in non-violence way, this will bring a lot of peace and happiness to your life, to the life of the ego.
Yeah.
Vice versa, if the ego don't follow ahimsa, and there is always violence, then this will bring a lot of suffering. Also, when there is confusion, a lot of confusion, and you believe that you are a tiny human being, in so tiny, in infinite universes, this also brings suffering to the ego. But when the ego is really mature due to a lot of suffering and many lifetimes of spiritual maturity, then the ego is willing to start its suicide process.
Yeah.
Because through the suffering, you end up in Atma Vichara through the scriptures, through Sravanam, Mananam, and then with Nidi Dhyasanam, the Vedantic meditation, you can assimilate, you can internalize the Sravanam and Mananam. And eventually the ego will surrender due to suffering, a lot of experiencing of suffering. So it requires also suffering. It requires also the recognition that all the worldly things are fleeting,
Yeah.
and bring depression and frustration in the end. Because everything is mithya, everything is impermanent. So the ego will find it appealing that can be free from this full circle, samsara, the wheel of lives and deaths.
Also, but the ego also needs to find not just the absence of suffering, also the Brahman itself. It's like from my point of view, if it's just like deep sleep, even though deep sleep is not unpleasant, the fact that you can't remember deep sleep makes Brahman sound really unappealing if it's the same as deep sleep. But if surely Brahman, is consciousness as well. Consciousness, its existence, consciousness, bliss. Brahman.
Yes, but you cannot say that without being an apparent Jivatma, without being a Siddhabhasa, reflected consciousness. You cannot say I am Sacchidananda. You can only say that during this apparent Siddhabhasa functioning.
Okay, so when
you will become the so-called jnani eventually for others, as I mentioned earlier, because for you, the real you will be that I'm that and there is only that. I was never Subodhananda, I was never somebody. But for others, when you will become a jnani, and for you, the total and permanent recognition that I am that and there is only that, upon the deconstruction of the body-mind complex and abide as Brahman that you are, you will not say I'm Brahman now and I'm in bliss. Forget that. This is the demand of the ego.
Okay, you will not say that,
The ego
but
don't like. The ego don't like that. The ego don't want to disappear. It's not appealing for the ego.
okay, so the ego disappears at the time of death. The body-mind complex dissolves or just got gone, and then it's like the glass jar with the breaks, and consciousness is the same as it was anyway. So how does the former Subodhananda, how does he then subsequently exist after the physical body dies.
As pure awareness, not as Subodhananda or as anybody as such, with a name. There is no name anymore. There is only pure awareness.
But that's not unappealing to me. That pure awareness.
Because you are immature. You are immature. Otherwise, you wouldn't enter Advaita Vedanta.
Existing as pure awareness.
Yeah, I only speak for common people who are not dealing with Advaita Vedanta or other profound teachings. That is not appealing. But for you, of course, it may be appealing. Because awareness, you are also right now. Does awareness have the name Subodhananda?
So basically, there's no change.
No change. Awareness remains awareness. You are still awareness. Subodhananda will disappear. But there is no problem. Because you, awareness, you are looking the so-called Subodhananda as existing. But Subodhananda never existed in the first place. Don't forget that.
Awareness is eternally aware of itself.
No, awareness don't say I'm aware of myself. Awareness is always there as pure existence. It becomes personal when there is reflected consciousness, when there is somebody. Otherwise, who will say I'm awareness? Awareness, you are now. You don't need to put the name of Subodhananda in your awareness. There is no need. You will remain as the same awareness as you are now, without the need of saying, I am Subodhananda or somebody with any name. Anyway, you will never disappear because you are birthless in the first place. So how you can disappear?
At the time of death, it's Subodhananda disappears, awareness remains. It's not non-existence. Exactly. It's not non-existence, it's awareness.
Yes, exactly. Likewise, the space in the jar, in the pot. Just remain the same. The space inside the pot don't go anywhere. It was always the same space. But the ego has such problems from time to time. And especially when an apparent somebody is not spiritually mature. And always there is this dilemma, oh, I will disappear, I will never exist again, because I will dissolve. This is completely ridiculous, because the one or that which is accommodating this dialogue, these thoughts, is there without a name as pure awareness. Pure awareness don't need to say I will dissolve and then I will stay. I'm the space in this Subodhananda body-mind complex, and I will just remain as space without this Subodhananda pot. Pure awareness will remain. Will not speak, will not say I'm awareness and now I'm free, I don't need to have a body-mind complex. Will not say anything.
So that pure awareness, which is beyond the individual, can we say then, like it itself cannot say anything, but its nature, can we say the nature of pure awareness is eternal, and also can we say the nature of pure awareness is bliss? Can we say that?
Yes, but we'll never say I'm bliss. We'll never objectify.
No.
Objectification means that suddenly you're limiting something and you make it an object in the space-time continuum, and you make it an event. Then how that can be something permanent and not mithya?
Yeah.
If you are limiting it as an event in space-time. The same with Brahman that you are. It cannot be an object of an experience. It is always self-revealing as I am, as I exist. But if you say I am, and then you add Subodhananda, then starts the problem.
No.
If you say I am, and then you say I'm a male, or I'm a female, or I'm a transgender, starts the problem. Whatever you continue to say after I am is the problem. Just stay as I am. I am pure awareness. I exist. I'm present. And don't say I have this and that name, or I'm a human being, or whatever. Because there are no beings. There is only beingness. There are no existing beings. There is only existence. There are no waves. There is only water. There is no need to believe that you are a wave. There is no need. You can play, you can pretend, on the other hand. If you like to have some fun, you can pretend that you are a wave, and you can play with other waves and rise and subside, and again rise and subside, and play. But that doesn't mean that suddenly from water and the water of the ocean, you became a wave. You will never become a wave. As a distinct wave, I mean. Anything else?
No. That was quite a lot.
So let's close our private satsanga for tonight. And Subodhananda is always most welcome to come again with questions.
Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.